Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, I suppose, depending on where you are in the world. Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you all. Welcome back. It has been too long since we've done some proper multiplayer content on this channel, and it is good to be back. Because not only are we back with multiplayer, but we're back with the hottest multiplayer that has anything to do with me, which is my tabletop tournaments. So, before we get into today's first match, real quick, I'm going to explain the format, and then we're going to be off to the races with our first game. So, for those unaware, the Sotek Tabletop Tournaments, which there's a playlist on the channel if you want to catch up on all the old ones, were discontinued for a long time, but now they're back. And the way this works is basically we're playing Total War Warhammer tournaments inspired by playing tabletop Warhammer Fantasy. And the way it would work to play tabletop Warhammer Fantasy is that you would actually make your list before the tournament, go to the tournament, and your list, you would just play your list that entire day. And either won or you lost using your list that you showed up and you painted and all that jazz. So I decided to make a Total Warhammer tournament inspired by that, which is to say that these tournaments are all about bringing an all-comers list. So the goal here is that you get one army. You get to make your army before the tournament, not knowing what maps you'll be playing on, who you'll be playing against. And once you get into it, all the games are best of one. It's single elimination. You lose, you're out. In fact, for today's tournament, we actually had it open for 16 people, which, as you can see here, we started off with 16 people, and already 8 have been eliminated. So I will post this in chat. That way people can check out the page and see the people that have been playing so far. But we're going to go ahead and get into our first match for today, which is going to be Turin leading the brave Dawi versus Dector, who's bringing the Skaven. So we have a lovely grudge match starting us off for today. And our first game is going to be in Iron Sand Desert. So without further ado, I'm going to scooch myself over this way a little bit so I'm not quite in the way. Let's begin. And we will go over their lists once we're in the match. How is everyone? How are you all? Y'all excited for some games? This is going to be very short. Even though we're starting off in the quarterfinals and there's 8 people left, that means there's only 7 games. So, no matter how it goes, this is probably going to take at most 2 hours. But, we'll see what happens. Alright, so real quick. Good luck, lads. Let's go ahead and start going over the list. Let's start with Turin. Turin's playing today. Isn't that exciting? I love that Turin's actually getting some games in over here. So Turin is bringing the brave Dawi, led by none other than Belagar Ironhammer. So Belagar's coming in with no abilities, just nice, cheap, durable lord. Then we've got, I believe, 2 units, of miners with exploding charges. We've got 2 units of longbeards with great weapons. 3 units of Slayers, one of which is the Dragonback Slayers. A single cannon. We've got Ulthar's Raiders hiding over here. 4 units, I believe, is it 3 or 4? 3 units of Thunderers. Yes, 3 units of Thunderers. Lots and lots of firepower. So, yeah, a very wide army with a nice big front line of Dwarf Warriors. I believe there's 4 of them. So just a massive Dwarf army with the very good but very naked character. Meanwhile, over on the Skaven side of things, we've got 5 units of Skaven slaves making up the front line. The army is led by none other than Deathmaster Snitch himself. We've also got a Plague Priest here with both of these summon spells. We've got 2 units of Jezzails, one of which is Natty Boobo's Sharpshooters, 2 units of Poison Wind Globadiers, 3 Rat Ogres, 2 Death Runners, one of which is the Death Squad, and then we've got a couple of units of Clan Rats. So 2 massively wide armies are going to be going toe-to-toe with each other. There is quite a bit of, not an insignificant amount of AP on the Skaven side. The Skaven really do have a lot of really good tools to deal with all of this nonsense on the Dwarf side, especially with the Death Squads. But the Dwarves do have quite a bit of firepower with all those guns. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Alright, the match has begun. Cannons are opening fire. Ooh, beautiful shot into the Jezzails, killing, what, 4 of them right off the bat? Not a bad volley. And now we see that the counter-fire is beginning, with the Jezzails firing into the Thunderers. Looks like Turin's not going to waste any time and is going to be taking the fight to his enemies, because they do have, I believe, the superior long-range power. So already we've got good fire being traded. The cannon is unleashing not nearly as good of a fire on that second volley, but so far, so decent. We've got Deathmaster Snitch just running straight to the front line, but he's been hit by Marked by Ulthar, which means he's going to take a significant amount of bonus damage from shooting, because he's just got all these big debuffs on him. And he is taking a lot of damage, but Skaven are doing well in the front line. They've gotten a lot of their really cheap slaves into combat and are bombarding the crap out of them with Globadiers, which does hurt, of course, but they don't really care how much they hurt their own guys. Those Longbeards are taking a beating. One of the Thunder units is pretty much down now. Skaven are slowly but surely starting to push through the Dwarf front line. A lot of places have collapsed in the Dawi front line. We've got most of the Dwarf warrior units are already down now. There's a couple of Longbeards that are still holding out. Really, really good set of charges here to free up the Dragonback Slayers, who are going to be going into those Rat Ogres, which is not going to go super well for the Rat Ogres. Back here, though, things are going better for the Rat Ogres as they get into those units of Thunderers. We see that an Assassin has gotten on to Belagar Ironhammer, who has all these massive debuffs on him, so he's going to be struggling to do well in this matchup, but those... I don't know if that's going to last long enough for the Assassin to quite get him. Over here, we can see that all the Dwarf Warriors have basically been wiped out. There's not a whole lot left going for them. Down here, we do have the Dragonback Slayers taking out that unit of Rat Ogres. Deathmaster Snitch is holding steady at about 50% health, but it looks like he's trying to run into the battle now. This is a very fast and loose game. We do see, devastating volleys coming in between the Jezzails and the Poison Wind Globadiers on these Dragonback Slayers. They still do have a decent amount of numbers. They've got about 29 guys left, but they're, oh gosh. Yeah, they are fulfilling their oaths, but not in a good way today. We see a lot of the Thunder units are very heavily compromised. It looks like the balance of power is in favor of the Skaven right now. The cannon is doing its job. It's gotten quite a bit of nice firing in on the Jezzails and the Rat Ogres, which are all pretty much gone, but Belagar has broken, and he's being chased off by Deathmaster Snitch. Oh no, that's so bad. He's only got about 1 hit left in him, and yeah, he's shattered. Down goes the true king of Carrick 8 Peaks, and with that, I think the Dwarves are doomed. I mean, the Skaven still have a ton of firepower left on the field. The Dwarves have no heroes left anywhere on the battlefield holding up their leadership. They are taking massive amounts of fire. The Jezzails and the Poison Wind Globadiers are just eating through armor like it's nothing. Death Runners are hitting that armor sundering everywhere they can, so the Dwarves are just not able to survive even against all these lower tier units. Assassins are running around everywhere, and with that, all the bonus summons from the Plague Priest, the Dwarf army is going to shatter, and that is game 1. So the Skaven coming out on top of the Dawi. Great game. Turn says, yeah, can't beat those Death Runners and the Jezzails. And this is actually really interesting. For anyone that has a history with the tabletop tournaments, you would know that Turin's army was actually one of the strongest builds in the prior tabletop tournaments. Do I have to leave, or... I guess I do. Oh, did I crash it? Okay, there it goes. Oh, no! It didn't save anything. Okay, so I guess I'm not supposed to leave. Well, that's annoying. That's okay. I kept expecting it to end, and it just kept going. Okay, well, we'll wait for it next time. That's alright. Alright, so that is going to be game 1. Oh, Slayers were still fighting. Ah, that's what was going on. I thought it was bugged. But great game overall. The cannons did especially well. I mean, they got a lot of good shots on the Rat Ogres, but Turin just didn't have the... like, he had a lot of great Thunderers, but there were so many summons coming out on the field, and the Jezzails were just able to look at those Thunderers and just be like, aha, yeah, cool. But it's actually super interesting because Turin's build, that build we were just looking at, is actually here. I can actually pull it up here.
Just 7 donated $15.
Hey!
Hello, just found out I have to quarantine for 10 days.
Oh!
Glad you are here to keep me company.
Well, sorry to hear you have to quarantine for 10 days, my dude. I hope you're okay. I appreciate the tip, and I'm happy to provide you with some entertainment, my dude. But here, so if we take a kind of a look here at Turin's list, this list, it was undoubtedly one of the strongest lists in the older tabletop tournaments. So, and by older, I mean the ones played before we kind of went on hiatus for a while. Because generally what would happen is that people would run into all these different dwarf units, and then the Thunderers would turn and crossfire constantly. That wasn't able to happen against the Skaven here, which I don't believe we... I don't remember the last time we had a tabletop tournament. It was a long time ago. But the Jezzails were able to just mow down the Thunderers from super duper far away. So, Dwarves were actually one of the most popular armies that were taken today. There were 3 Dwarf armies out of the 16. But the other most popular one is Skaven. There were 3 Skaven armies and 3 Dwarf armies. So, the Skaven did come out on top this time, and I know Turin had a Dwarf mirror match in his first match. So, I think there's only one Dwarf player left, and I'm not sure if he's still around or not. But in any event, that is going to be the end of the first match. So, let's go ahead and get our next players lined up. So, next up, we're going to do... here, and I'll put the bracket up so y'all can see it. I should really make this its own thing, but that's fine. So, that was our first game. For our second game, we're going to be doing Talcor versus Samurai Warrior. So let's see what they have to bring on offer. And for their map, we're going to go to an old classic, Altdorf Outskirts. Oh, baby. If those armies went head-to-head in the lore, do you think Belegar would have won? It would probably not, honestly. I really think even from a lore standpoint, that Skaven army had a lot going for it. The Dwarf army just didn't have enough character power from, like, a lore standpoint. They didn't have, like, enough lords and heroes and stuff. Plus, honestly, as far as, like, Skaven characters Belegar matching up against goes, I think, honestly, Deathmaster Snitch would probably be one of the worst matchups for Belegar, because I think Belegar would really struggle against Deathmaster Snitch from a lore standpoint. Because Snitch is he's just purely all about, like, speed and hitting people in really, with just, like, a flurry of attacks. Deathmaster Snitch actually played... fun lore fact for you today. That's... Of course, you'll learn more about this in an upcoming video. But Deathmaster Snitch actually played a very key role in killing Belegar's brother. Oh, they can't see me. Let's see. Oh, God. Do I have these people on my friend list? Sorry, one sec. Gotta add people to my friends list. Community. Copy. Alright. I hope you're all doing well on this lovely day. Okay, there's Talcor. So invite to lobby. And then we just need Samurai. Oh, there's his code. Copy. Enter game. Wait, no. Don't enter game. Enter... open Steam. Community. Quick invite. Boop. Boop. Why are you saying... Hold on, is my friend list full? Let's get rid of some random people. You. Remove. Go away.
Another wretched
Yep.
foul
It was full.
joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
Hey, Sean Lee, thanks so much for keeping your sub going, my dude.
Keep up the amazing work, Fist.
Is that a new trim I see there? Oh, yes, the haircut. Yes, my hair is much shorter. Alright, so for this matchup, we've got Bretonnians versus the Dark Elves. And we're going to the Altdorf outskirts. Snitch seems like he would wreck almost anyone to fight. Snitch does have weak spots. Other characters that specialize very, very highly in, like, anti-stealth, or in, like, full body armor, or are just, like, incredibly large, would be a problem for him. Yes, so Grace from Creative Assembly told us to expect updates on Warhammer 3 in May. That is correct. So I would not expect anything significant from Warhammer this month. Maybe a Lord Pack announcement, but even that will be probably later in the month. Alright, let's hop into Game 2. I'm going to make sure y'all can see everything. Yes, you can. Alright, let's start with Mr. Talcor. So, whoops. Mr. Talcor is running the Bretonnians here, led by the king himself, King Lewin Lanker, the Lionhearted. He's got, looks like most of his goodies. He's got Standard Ground, the Sword of Caron, Beloved Son. So he's got pretty much all of his goodies. Then he's got 5 units of Bretonnia Bowmen, mixing pox and fire arrows. We've got a Paladin on horseback with no abilities. Couple units of Knights of the Realm backed up by a unit of Questing Knights. A Field Trebuchet. And then another unit of Questing Knights and Knights of the Realm on this flank. So a pretty good mix. 5 units of Knights and then a big old front line of Peasant Mob to absorb some early damage. And last but not least, a Damsel of Life who's bringing in... Ooh, interesting. She's got Dwellers Below on top of Earthblood and the Scroll of Shielding. That Dwellers Below could be big if she gets off a good hit with it. Meanwhile, on the side of the Dark Elves, we've got 5 units of Dread Spears, 4 units of Witch Elves. So many Witch Elves. We got like a coven here. 2 units of Cold One Knights, 2 units of Scourge Runner Chariots. For the leadership squad, we've got Hellebrand on foot, running her, running the Cursed Blade, as well as the Gaze of Cain. We've also got a Sorceress of Fire with Fireball and Burning Head, and then a Cainite Assassin who's got the Web of Shadows and the Assassin's Trophy ability. So this is a very Cainite force. This is like borderline thematic. You've got like Cainite Assassins, Witch Elves, Hellebrand, all sorts of goodies. Let's see what happened. Update on the Chaos Dwarf Q&A. Super soon. I had to, I got stuck on a particular question needing to be answered that is forcing me to reread a novella, but it's not crazy long, and I'm about 30% of the way through it. But there's a book I have to reread pertaining to a question. So as soon as I'm done rereading that, I can answer that question. It'll be coming out real damn soon. Alright, so we've got the Scourge Runner Chariots firing an initial volley into Leonker. They do land... he's doing a very, very nice job juking. Unfortunately, though, some of the shots are getting a little dangerously close to his army, so he does need to be careful what direction he's juking them in. We've got that first line of trebuchets firing, and good hit! Damn! 4 Cold One Knights splattered by that initial volley. Great job. Scourge Runners are now focusing some of their attention on the peasant mobs who are taking damage, but they haven't lost a unit model yet. Oh, no, there goes a guy. They don't want to waste too many shots on peasants. Probably wants to turn off fire at will. Another good volley goes into the Cold One Knights, killing another 3. And here we've got the initial charges. Oh, nice. Nice juke. Nice juke. Got the Spearmen to hold nice, still, and pretty for him. Getting some early shots into him. They do have silver shields, though, so they're not taking much of the wave damage. He does manage to hit this unit while they're out of formation and gets away, taking virtually no damage. Didn't deal much in the wave damage either, but, you know, he got some licks in. So we've got a very wide front line coming in. The peasants are doing their damnedest to deal as much damage as possible. We got a very nice charge here in from the Cold One Knights. Leonker does dive into the fray to help out. We see the Knights of the Realm have been rampaged by the Witch Elves in this scenario, so they are committing to this fight. But the Sword of Corone does go off, and the Witch Elves have been broken due to Terrified. They are out of here. The Cold One Knights are terrified. The Bretonnians have decisively won this flank. Meanwhile, in the center line, we see massive amounts of buffs going on from Hellebrand. She has popped all of her abilities and punched straight through this Bretonnian line like it's nothing. Those Questing Knights got chewed up like they were made out of butter. Meanwhile, the Scourge Runner Chariots, we can see, were not on skirmish mode, and they did actually get caught out by 2 units of Knights who are absolutely trashing them. Meanwhile, we get a pretty nice Dwellers Below. It does miss a bit, but it seems to get a bit of damage, and now both of the armies are colliding in on this center portion, where what is left of them is committing to the fight. Hellebrand's Cursed Sword is now on cooldown. Lewin Leonker is going after the Fire Sorceress, doing a good job there. He needs to take her out before she can get off a really, really big Burning Head. I'm sure she's gotten one off already, and I just missed it earlier. But if she manages to get off another one straight down this line, that could be game over. Oh, wait, you know what? Hellebrand's stuff isn't on a cooldown, isn't it? It's just when she's in battle. Things are looking pretty... Oh, there it goes. Things are looking pretty dicey for the Bretonnians right now, but they do get a beautiful rear charge in from those 2 surviving Knight units. We see Leonker dives into his flank, terrifies a whole bunch of the Dark Elf Corps out. All of the Witch Elves are terrified and fleeing from the battle. Well, not all of them. There's 1 unit left. All these Bretonnian units are rampaging, though. He doesn't have any control over them, and their leadership is super shaky. Pretty much the only thing holding them together at this point is Leoncoeur himself, but things are definitely looking super dicey. He needs to deal with Hellebron. Hellebron, that constant drain damage she deals when in close combat for these blobs is absolutely brutal. The balance of power is pretty even. Looks like it's a tiny bit in favor of the Bretonnians. They don't really have like a ton left. It's just that they have a good old Leoncoeur at very, very high health. We do see that he has Assassin's Trophy on him, which seems to explain why he's disengaging from the battle. Though he does come in here to absolutely curb stomp some of these gorgeous Velociraptor Knights. Over here, the Dark Elf army is consolidating and has a very, very powerful core here, especially considering that all of it is pretty much anti-large or rampage-causing units. Looks like we're about to get a fireball in from the sorceress if this connects with Leoncoeur and he doesn't have the line shield up. Oh, nice juke! Not intentional, but a dodge is a dodge. So that fireball just ends up burning up some Dark Elves instead. Good timing on that leap charge animation. So Leoncoeur is back up in the air. The balance of power, though, has turned in favor of the Dark Elves, and they are consolidating their efforts around Hellebron, which is going to make this pretty difficult for Leoncoeur. However, he does have an opportunity to score big if he can lure the Dark Elves into a very big fight and hit them with the Dwellers below. He could come out on top, but the question is, do the Bretonnians have enough Winds of Magic for a Dwellers below? And more importantly, can he trick the Dark Elves into that big engagement? We see a fireball comes in here, does a fair amount of damage to a damsel. She does pop a heal on herself to stabilize her leadership. Not a lot of Bretonnians left standing against just a riotous amount of Dark Elves. And it looks like Leoncoeur is looking for a way to commit to this fight. We do have rallying Bretonnians coming in. Hellebron pops her big buff to make all of her units frenzied and rampage. So they come in to battle looking to spread blood. He does actually a really good, nice job of sending in a lot of his weaker troops first, allowing Leoncoeur to, sure, pick off a couple guys, but his entire army is going to be gone by the time he actually is able to fully commit to the fight. He did have Assassin's Trophy popped on him, but pulled away. Looks like there are some archers that are trying to get some easy damage in here. Even the odds a bit. The Bretonnians do actually have a pretty substantial knight squad over here. It's not a ton of knights, it's only about 20. But if they time their charges very carefully and let the peasants carry most of the heavy lifting as far as, like, getting engaged, they might be able to break this spear corps if they're lucky. But they've got to be super careful. They cannot get into a committed fight. Like, they need to get the hell out of dodge right now. They have stand your ground on, but that's not going to save them when they have to, like, turn around and flee. We do see that the Dark Elves are quickly working their way over. Most of these are Witch Elves, so they are fairly fast infantry, especially with that Assassin running around just shooting, taking lots of casual, easy damage. But we got the Peasant Archers shooting in with what support they can, but I just don't think the Dark Elves have a realistic chance of stopping this. I mean, as soon as Leoncoeur commits to, like, a big fight, he's going to run into issues with the fact that he could get very easily rampaged by the Witch Elves. Like, he's got to kill Hellebron. If he can kill Hellebron, he might have a chance into causing, like, mass terror, but it's going to be really, really hard. And if he takes too much damage, those Witch Elves could easily rampage him into the fight, and then he'll be stuck. His only defense against rampage right now from the Witch Elves is that he's not at too low of health. Because if you're above a certain threshold, you cannot be rampaged. He's coming down for Hellebron again. Doesn't quite score a hit with that charge. He's got a really nicely timed Assassin's Trophy on him. Hellebron does buff all her troops. And Lewin is rampaged. The king has been tricked into the death haze of Hellebron. She invites him to enjoy in the bloodlust. And he's just kind of sort of awkwardly standing there. He's not even attacking. He's not even attacking. And he's taking a ton of leadership damage. He is broken, he's shattered, and that is game. He just got hit with too big a dose of them sweet, sweet chemicals, dude. So looking at the post-battle screen here, Leoncoeur, Lewin just really couldn't seem to find a home. Like, he was doing a really good job terror bombing across the map. he would show up and kind of like break an area of the Dark Elves, forcing them to flee and stuff, but he wasn't able to really get in on a good engagement that favored him, because Hellebron and her death squad was just curb stomping everything before her. The Damsel actually got some really nice value. I assume that's probably from the Dwellers Below that she did cast during the battle. We can see that this paladin who engaged against that Rampage Death Star in the center was super duper brutal and just curb stomped everything. This unit of archers didn't get a single kill. I don't even know what happened to them. This one did well. Most of the knights did okay. Not great, but okay. This one unit of questing knights did really, really well. And this was probably the one that was on the right flank that got to win in that flank battle. Yeah, everywhere else, the Bretonnians just weren't able to get value out of a lot of their tools. Like, the Dark Elves just punched through that fragile front line so easily. Meanwhile, on the good old Daughters of Cain list, I mean, Hellebron got a ton of value. She got her money's worth being just an infantry character. Dealt over 10,000 damage just chewing people up. Sorceress got excellent value with her fireballs. The Canine Assassin got excellent value, 1,300 value from just damaging characters and units. All the Dread Spears did pretty okay, just holding the line. The Witch Elves, a couple of them, you can tell these are the ones on the right flank that got slaughtered, but the ones in the center absolutely killed it with over 100 kills each, generating about 1,000 value. Knights struggled, the Scourge Runners, Chunners, but definitely the MVPs were that core of Witch Elves buffed up by Hellebron. They absolutely curb stomped some goodies. Great game. Alright. So, that is another game done. Let's check on... Let's see here. Wait, hold on. Is there still... Okay, no, they have played their game. Okay, cool. Alright, so I'm going to pop back down into here. Next up is... Let's do... Hadries versus... Moore. Alright. Game is Sotek TTT. Password is this one thing. And for the next map, where should we go, chat? Let's see. I got some map recommendations here. Let's go. Any of these stand out? Sword of Torgal. That's a great map. That's a classic. Sword of Torgal. Good old Bretonnian map for Wolfric. Alright. Goody, goody, goody. And just a reminder, whoever wins today, these tournaments actually do come with a prize. Whoever wins today will get a nice... Okay, sorry. I thought I heard a tornado siren. I had to just check real quick. It just sounds like there's machine work going on outside. Well, maybe. Hold on. let me check the weather real quick. Like, it was kind of stormy today, but I don't think that's a siren. No, it's not. Okay, it's just machinery. All right. This is just like I'm not very fond of like when you live around here, you just gotta listen out for that kind of stuff. You can never be too comfortable. Okay, I need to boot someone else from my friends list. Goodbye. Alright, so I'm making a mental note that in the future I need to make sure I have all of the people added in advance. I hope y'all are having fun. Oh, do we have a test? That could be what it is. It could be a test. I was gonna say, it's like, it sounds like the tornado sirens, but there's definitely no bad weather today. Alright, so for this match, we got a really interesting match. We've got Wood Elves versus Warriors of Chaos. Y'all ready for this? This will be a cool game. Wood Elves are actually another pretty popular army today. I want to say there were 2 or 3 Wood Elves. I know Anticity was playing Wood Elves. Unfortunately, he got taken out in the first round by Lizards. But yeah, I think today's test day. But we've got a good old matchup here of the Defenders of the Natural Order versus the Ultimate Corruptors. Hey, the Wakey, thanks so much for the super chat, dude. I hope you're enjoying the live stream. Hugh, good to see you, my dude. I also need to start. I need to start watching the games from the. Oh yeah, those are 100% the tornado sirens, 1,000 billion %. But it sounds like that was a test. I know that sound way too well. All right, let's take a look. Let's start with the Chaos Army, led by AC Moore. So leading his army is the not Warrior of Chaos that's available to the Warrior of Chaos roster, Sartorial the Everwatcher, who is bringing to the battlefield Searing Doom, Plague of Rust, and Standard Die. Nice generalship ability. Then he's got 2 Exalted Champions on horseback, both of whom are wielding the Mark of Khorne. So as long as their leadership is above 50%, they're frenzied, essentially. Then we have, I believe, 4 units of Chaos Marauders, 2 units of Chosen with Great Weapons, very nasty. And then we've got 4 units of Horsemen, 2 of which are Horse Masters, 2 of which are regular. And then last but certainly not least, 2 Feral Manticores, bringing up the edge of the army. So super duper interesting build. I really, really like the double Exalted Champion Chaos Steeds. I think that's a really, really interesting flavor pick. Meanwhile, the Wood Elves are up to Wood Elfy shenanigans. Looks like he's got an entire Vanguard army. Real quick, just to check with what he's got. We've got, I believe... no, there's more than just 2. They're like all over the place. There are, I believe, 3 or 4 units of Glade Riders with spears. There's 1 unit of Wild Riders with shields. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Dryads. And we've got the couple. It's a couples matchup. We've got Orion, the King of the Woods, rocking the Cloak of Aisha and the Horn of the Wild Hunt, along with his wife, Queen Ariel, the Queen in the Woods, running Apotheopsis, Tempest, Soul Stealer, and her Berry Wine. And man, this army is like going to be coming from all directions. There's another unit of Glade Rival Spirits over there. And then last, the real powerhouse in this army is actually the Lost Sylvan Knights, which the Lost Sylvan Knights are a really good pick. The only consistent magic damage in this entire army is Sartorial himself. Sartorial is really the only threat to the Lost Sylvan Knights on this entire battlefield. This is going to be very, very interesting. Those Lost Sylvan Knights, if they can avoid Sartorial and his Searing Doom, I think they are going to get a ton of value. But the Wood Elves are definitely going to be... They're going to have to play smart. These Chosen are going to be an absolute bastard for the Wood Elves to deal with. They do not have a ton of super heavy AP. They have very little shooting. And they really only have... Their only armor piercing that they really have is their characters and then this 1 ethereal unit. That's it. So if those Lost Sylvan Knights are taken out prematurely, or if they lose out on if they get caught up by Sartorial, and don't end up spending a lot of their value against these Chosen, I think the Wood Elves are going to be in a really, really bad time. Man, I really like both builds, though. Like, just this hardcore melee Wood Elf build that's all about just map control and skirmish play. And then the double characters. Anybody that takes thematic character builds, like having Ariel and Orion together, that's always a major plus in my book. How did he afford all those units? Very carefully. I mean, you'll notice a lot of the lords and stuff are like really stripped down. Like they don't have a lot of their items or spells. So it looks like he's keeping the Sylvan Knights and the Wild Riders in reserve for right now. We do have a little bit of we have a tiny bit of lag, not too much though. Orion getting a nice early shot in on those Chaos Marauders. He's got to do everything he can to bring down Sartorial. Like Sartorial has got to die. Ooh, nice hit on the Manticore. Of course, if he can, dealing enough damage to the Manticores to get them to break down early is going to be great. Here we see the Glade Riders with spears almost catch out the Marauder Horsemen. Not quite, though. They do eat quite a few spears for their trouble, which is a little unfortunate. They do have bronze shields, but they have virtually no armor, so those shields are pretty much all they've got going for them. Here we see a really nice charge coming in from the Wood Elves. They've got the Horn of the Hunt, so they've got a 54% charge bonus, so they're going to be hitting like absolute trucks for the most part across the battle line. We see that these Glade Riders are trying to outmaneuver their way around the Marauder Horsemen, but they're having a little bit of trouble doing so. A lot of these Marauders are getting absolutely ripped in half by all of these Dryads. The Forest Spirits are not having a hard time at all cleaving through all these poor Marauders. We do see that the Chosen have committed to the fight against Orion. Orion, of course, does have a significant amount of AP. He will be able to burst through them. And over here, the Lost Sylvan Knights have committed to the battle against the Chosen. They are perfectly designed to wipe these Chosen. And Sartorial is on the wrong side of the battlefield. If these Sylvan Knights, look how much damage they're doing to those Chosen. With all of that awesome bonuses they get from their charge, especially since these guys are already tied up with the Dryads, they took about 25% of their health in that initial fight. Here looks like we've got Sartorial going after the Butterfly Queen herself. Sartorial, of course, does have one of the nastiest and fastest charge animations in the game. It's a little absurd. We've got the Glade Knights trying to provide some protection here. A really nice Soul Stealer going down. That's going to hit. Oh, very nice Soul Stealer. It gets the Manticore and both Exalted Heroes. It does miss this Manticore, which is a little unfortunate, but now Sartorial is sandwiched between husband and wife. Orion is beating the tar out of him because Sartorial's actually only real weak spot is in close combat. If he gets engaged in close combat, and it's non-magical damage being used against him, he actually gets hurt really bad. But we do see he's getting in on the Lost Sylvan Knights, who have absolutely annihilated these Chosen. These Chosen are barely above 25% health, maybe a little below. They've taken so much damage, but you see every time Sartorial goes in, there's a notable percentage drop on their health because he does have that ugly, ugly magic damage. Here, both of the Manticores have Rampage. They're doing really, really well. Things are looking a little dicey for Chaos. They do still have both of their Exalted Heroes in fairly good health who are getting onto Ariel, and they're actually a very nice counter to Ariel. Mainly because they're not going to knock her over. A lot of the problem with like using monstrous characters like Manticores or Sartorial against Ariel is they knock her over a lot. Down here we see that Sartorial is dueling the Lost Sylvan Knights. Actually a pretty good matchup for him. He does have a rather significant amount of magic damage at 25%. Oh, that Searing Doom! Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's going to hurt. Those Sylvan Knights are taking an absolute beating from all that. Things are definitely looking pretty dicey for the Wood Elves. They just don't have any shooting. Like, they are completely out of options when it comes to pew-pews. And that is such a necessary thing when you're dealing with all of this just, like, borderline Manticore spam. But in come the Wild Riders. The Wild Riders with shields are basically at full health, but they really need to help peel for Ariel. She is taking so much damage, and down she goes! Ariel's killed by a Pharaoh Manticore, which is devastating for the Wood Elves. They just lost all of their magical support. Hopefully she was able to use her Berry Wine at some point. We do see that the Horn of the Wild Hunt goes off again, but I really think that the Wood Elves are in a lot of trouble. As long as Sartorial is still standing, they are basically doomed. We see that one of the Exalted Heroes has been broken off. Oh, a really, really nice charge, though, from the Wild Riders. With that 54% charge bonus, they're going to be hitting like demigods of the Hunter Lord himself. We do have a Searing Doom coming down. Are they going to be able to get out of the way? Oh, gosh. They still took about 400 damage, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Sartorial is, though, getting caught between a lot of high-mass entities. He is doing his best to finish off the Lost Sylvan Knights, but they don't really give a crap about Sartorial, and he is really low. He's down to 260 health. If Sartorial goes down, the Wood Elves do have a very... Oh, down he goes! He gets slain by Orion. That spear just hunked straight through the back of his chest, and down goes the Greater Demon. So now we've got the Great Stag Knights. There's only 7 of them, but there's no more magic damage on the field. So they're going to have like 80% resistance against everything. The balance of power swings massively in favor of the Wood Elves. All of the characters have been terrified and shattered. So Chaos immediately gets put on the back foot. They're rapidly approaching army losses. They barely have any ammo left, and all they have left are shooting units who do have a bit of peel, but they're running out of ammo, and Orion has plenty of ammo to take the fight back to them. Not to mention, between the Sylvan Knights and Orion, there's a massive amount of terror still on the battlefield, and it looks like Orion and the Wood Elves are going to be taking the victory after a very, very rough series of initial engagements. Beautiful spear throw, drops 4 Marauders with a single shot. Yeah, they just don't stand a chance against Orion. There's too many Wood Elves left, too much terror left, and these guys are just Marauders. They just don't have the leadership or the stats to compete with this. Oh, those spears are just going to be brutally massacring these horsemen. There's only 1 unit of Horsemasters truly left with any semblance of order, and oh my gosh, they're just getting torn to pieces by Orion. And the last unit breaks, shatters, and that is game. Oh, that was a great game. I actually thought Chaos had that. I thought Chaos really had that. Sartorial started getting into the Lost Sylvan Knights and absolutely tearing them up, and they even had shooting dominance, but saving those Wild Riders until super late in the battlefield. The Wild Riders were basically they just came in they waited until the Horn of the Wild Hunt was off cooldown, and as soon as they had that bonus charge, they came flying in and just started tearing through all of the Chaos Forces. But let's take a look at how everybody did. Woo! Orion! Ooh! 38 kills, but 3,000 in damage value. Woo-hoo! And pretty much all of that was probably from him beating the crap out of Sartorial and also dealing a significant amount of damage to one of the chosen units. Ariel did not get nearly as much value, but it seems she spent most of her time trying to kite and also using a lot of support magic. She did get off a couple of Soul Stealers on the Knights, or the Heroes, which did deal damage that played out later, but I think a lot of her value came from getting off Apotheosises and Berry Wines on the Sylvan Knights. The Dryads didn't really get a ton of value, but they were basically just there to hold people down. Same thing for the Glade Knights. They were there more to harass than anything else, and they did a really good job of that. The Wild Riders got about 1,000 in value, which is pretty good considering how late they showed up to the battle. And the Lost Sylvan Knights came in with about 2k in value. Meanwhile, Sartorial the Everwatcher getting almost 3,500 gold in value, making him the biggest player on the battlefield. Not a huge surprise. His magic damage was able to rip through those Lost Sylvan Knights like they were made out of butter, knocking them down to 0 defenses at that point, essentially. And he got a lot of really good Searing Dooms off. We see that this Exalted Hero actually really struggled to get any value. He got 20 kills, but basically no value. Meanwhile, his compatriot here seemed to have been the one that killed Ariel because he actually got 1,400 value, which is pretty solid, especially for only 13 kills. Marauders got just instantly annihilated, and the Chosen performed pretty okay for themselves. This unit of Chosen managed to capture some chevrons and got some pretty good value. I'm presuming this is the one that had Sartorial with them, so they were actually able to put up a good fight for the entirety of the battle. Meanwhile, this one got shut down pretty quick by the combined force of Orion the Sylvan Knights. And then the Marauders, the Marauder Horsemasters got some pretty nice value. Manticores got decent value, but yeah. I honestly think Chaos had that, but they just weren't able to... I think it seemed like they almost started spreading out to wipe out all the various running aspects of the Wood Elf army, and when they were spread out, that's when that last unit of Wild Riders came riding in to save the day, and they just charged into Sartorial and ripped him to pieces. I mean, that Wild Rider charge combined with the Horn of the Wild Hunt, they just dropped our Sartorial with that steel chair right in the back of the head. Great game. Great game. Alright, and then we're on to the final quarterfinal match, which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and post this again in chat. Mods, if y'all want to like save that and post that every once in a while, that is the bracket for anyone that wants to look at it. Alright, so our last match for right now is Platypus and Bob Thresh. I'm digging the games, though. Despite the fact that we actually had a lot of submissions of similar armies, no, we have not had a single duplicate army make it to the top yet. Hey, Mason Riley, thanks so much for keeping up your membership, dude. 11 months. Thank you for the support, man. I really appreciate it. What map is next? That's a great question. Let's do... What's one that looks interesting? River Amexon. That's a map I am rather fond of. River Amexon. There we go. All right, we've got our first player in here. That's not what I wanted. Okay, they're both in. Alright, guys, we've got Lizardmen versus the Empire. And not just the Empire, but I am supreme! We got the Gelt. St. Augustine, what is the difference between Chaos Champions and Chaos Lords? Chaos Champions is more like a broad descriptor of like the top guys in Chaos. Chaos Lords are a specific rank. Chaos Lords are like the biggest, baddest Lords of Chaos. Like, they're the absolute top dogs. Champions of Chaos is just like all of them. But the hero level, like the lieutenant versions tend to be, they're called exalted heroes. But champions just refers to everybody. Man, don't y'all feel spoiled today? We basically got like zero repeats. We're not gonna have any mirror matches in the live games. There were quite a few mirror matches, I think, in the games before we went live. You want that cosplay stream of Isabella? Oh lordy. That would be like a... I feel like that would be like a charity incentive. I need to do a charity stream at some time in the future. Mirrors are cool. Mirrors can be very cool, especially in this format. Is Gelt originally Imperial born? No. Gelt actually is not a native to the Empire. He is originally from... I want to say he's from Talea originally. But he, like, literally, he's an illegal immigrant to the Empire, funny enough. Like, there's even the guy who helped bring him to the Empire actually, like, hates him and has, like, wants to have him killed. Because the way Gelt paid for his way into the Empire is he turned a bunch of stuff into gold and was like, here, look, money. And, as soon as Gelt left the boat and was like, alright, thanks for the ride, all the lead he turned into gold turned back into lead, which greatly angered the man responsible. No, I'm pretty sure he's from Talea. I thought Gelt is a chaos demon? No. Alright, so, let's start, speaking of Gelt, let's start with him. We've got, five. Yes, that's right. We got 5 units of Empire Swordsmen, 3 units of Empire Spearmen without shields. We've got the Geltman himself, the ultimate meme lord of Warhammer Fantasy, running in with Final Transmutation and Searing Doom, and he's got the Staff of Volans on him, which is nice. We've got one Empire Captain with Hold the Line, and a Warrior Priest who's running all 3 battle prayers, but everybody's on horseback. Then we've got a whole lot of guns. We've got 1 unit of Outriders with grenade launchers, 2 regular Outriders, and then 3 units of Outriders, 1 grenade launcher Outrider, and 2 Pistoliers. So many guns. We've also got 3 units of Empire Knights, so a very, very large Empire army that is relying very heavily on lots and lots and lots of horses. So many horses. Meanwhile, over on the Lizardmen side of things, we've got the big lad himself, Lord Mazdamundi, rolling in on Zlak. What spells do you run a big man? He's got Ruination of Cities with him, Banishment, then he's got Apotheosis, Harmonic Convergence, and Net of Amentok. Very nice set of spells. We've also got 2 Bastiladons with solar engines for a lot of long-range firepower. 2 units of Pterodon Riders with javelins, one of which is the Pahak Sentinels. Then we've got 4 units of Saurus Warriors with shields, 2 units of Skink Cohorts with javelins, and 2 Chameleon Skinks, a build after my own heart. Man, that is a lot of firepower. And then last but not least, well, maybe least, a cute little Skink Chief who's actually running the War Drums. Interesting. So the War Drums give just kind of a nice little leadership, speed, and charge bonus buff as long as he is not in combat. Not a bad item, honestly. All right. It begins. Do I watch the tariff memes? I'm not familiar with it. Alright, so the battle begins. We've got Empire Knights riding in front. A very nice deterrent to the Chameleon Skinks. They're not going to deal a lot of damage to all that heavy armor. However, the laser beams do not give a damn. Ooh, 2 very nice shots right off the bat. Pterodons managed to avoid that spread of fire. The Pahak Sentinels do not, though. They actually take quite a bit of damage considering their missile resistance. So the skirmish game has begun. The laser beams have already taken a massive toll on both sides of the battlefield. We see Mazdamundi is moving up to the front, likely because there is not a ton of AP damage. There is some armor-piercing damage coming in from the Outriders, but Mazdamundi is pretty tanky. Looks like he's throwing down a Net of Amentok. He only captures a single unit, so the Empire does manage to avoid too bad of a catch. But oh, Ruination of Cities is going down, and oh god, oh yeah. Yeah, those Pistoliers had a pretty bad time, and he even got a little bit of the Swordsman. The lasers, though, are the space lasers of the Lizardmen. The solar engines are, so far, pretty heavily outgunning the Empire's efforts. The Empire has much more of a short-range shooting army. They're going to have to find a way to get into this Lizardman force. So now we have all these Swordsmen running in to try and tangle up the front line, but this is going to be pretty nasty for them, frankly, because We got a little bit of friendly fire there. But the swordsmen are going to get absolutely annihilated by all of these Saurus. Here we do see Mazdamundi commits to smashing into Balthazar Gelt. That single charge animation like hit twice and basically cut him down almost to half health. He is popping all of his buffs and getting some distance between the two of them. We do see that the Empire, due to their superior numbers, is starting to wrap around the Lizardman line, getting into the back line. We see units are engaging on the Bastiladon, trying to get it to stop firing. The Skink almost gets taken down to half health through all sorts of really powerful shots. A banishment went off. I don't know where. It didn't really seem to do a whole lot. We do see, unfortunately, the Bastiladon is in guard stance and is still firing out on these Outriders who are doing some pretty good damage to Mazdamundi. Overall, though, things are looking pretty dicey for the Empire. The balance of power is slightly against them, and they have taken a ton of damage. We've got a rock drop here. These Empire swordsmen are not going to be holding out for much longer. Luckily for them, they do have a pretty commanding position of this left flank. However, the Pahak Sentinels are starting to dive down into melee, where they will absolutely curb stomp a lot of those Outriders in battle. The Bastiladon is holding out nicely against the Empire Knights. They are very heavily armored, and they will be able to hold against him for a while, but they're not really going to be able to hurt him. They barely do any damage. They have very low weapon strength and are very reliant on their charge bonus, but against the sheer armor of the Bastiladon, they just don't have a realistic hope. We see that there is another net over here against these Empire Knights, holding them in place so the Bastiladons can just start to curb stomp them. The Bastiladons actually do have pretty nice AP. We see that the Warrior Priest has taken the fight to Mazdamundi, is actually landing some pretty good licks on him. Mazdamundi is down to almost half health, but he does have swords coming in to support him now. Really nice Ruination of Cities just cast directly on top of the Bastiladon. Of course, it barely does any damage to single entities, so that's a pretty safe bet. Mazdamundi is now buffing himself with the Shield of the Old Ones. Balthazar Gelt is in the center of his army trying to command his troops to victory. However, he's getting very heavily harassed by this Skink Chief, who is happy to just pew 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 all day. And more laser beams are coming in now that these knights have been terrified off. Things are looking extremely dire for the Lizardmen. Sorry, not the Lizardmen, the Empire. The Lizardmen do have an extremely commanding position of both the center of the battlefield and the right flank. They've got almost a full health Chameleon Skink unit with half of their ammo still coming around the back. Both solar engines are extremely healthy, and honestly, these two alone are incredibly dangerous to everything left on the table, on the battlefield. We see that the Skink Chief is taking some harassment damage, but he is just pinging Gelt every once in a while with the blow dart, and that stuff really, really hurts, especially when you're just a silly little unarmored wizard on a horse. Mazdamundi is pretty low on health, but there's really not a lot left to threaten him. He gets a beautiful charge on that Warrior Priest, dealing a ton of damage. Of course, because all the Empire characters are on horseback, they are not going to have the salvation of being knocked around and thus avoiding damage from Mazdamundi whenever he charges in. When Mazdamundi charges, they're going to take a ton of damage. We see he does pop the Hammer of Sigmar on himself to try and hurt Mazdamundi, but Mazdamundi beautifully counters with Harmonic Convergence, which cancels out that buff and gives him melee attack, so he actually comes out on top. We see here that Gelt is almost about to break. He's just taken way too much damage from the consistent harassment from that Skink Chief, who is now in melee combat. Oh, that was a beautiful laser. It looked like it kind of went over their heads, but it's still connected, and those Outriders are just taking an absolute beating. The Bastiladons are almost out of ammo, but unfortunately for the Empire, that is army losses, and that is game. Woo! Applause in chat. That is the last of the quarterfinal matches, and the Lizardmen under Bob Tresh are moving on to the next round. Let's take a look at some values here. So Gelt, between his Searing Doom and his Final Transmutation, he was trying to find a place to get value this game, and I just don't think he was quite able to. It really seems like he needed to go all in with that Final Transmutation on Mazdamundi, maybe after Mazdamundi popped one of his Shield of the Old Ones, but unfortunately he just wasn't able to find a good place for a lot of his spells, and then of course he took a lot of damage from that constant Skink Chief harassment. Meanwhile, the Empire Captain did not really get much in the way of value. I think he was struggling to find a place. There wasn't really like an easy character for him to harass. I do think if he had actually been committed to go after the Skink Chief, he could have gotten some really nice value there. But unfortunately, I don't think he was really able to find his way to him in that part of the battle. The Warrior Priest barely got any value. He spent a lot of his time wailing on Mazdamundi, but unfortunately wasn't really able to do enough damage to make up for it. The front line, of course, got absolutely demolished. Not a single one of these guys got their points in value, which is really shocking considering that how cheap these units are. Barely any of these units got over 100 in value. The Empire Knights also really struggled to find a good home. They really needed to be slamming into those Saurus, taking advantage of their lower armor, but they spent a lot of their time trying to stop the Bastillons from firing, and they just don't have the armor piercing to threaten those solar engines. Those solar engines were just slapping them around like it was nobody's business. Pistoliers did a little bit better, and the Outriders actually did pretty well. The Outriders did get some pretty good value firing in on Mazdamundi, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to save the day. Meanwhile, Mazdamundi got a ton of value coming in at almost 2k gold, particularly from his banishments, his melee damage. He had some really, really nice charges into enemy characters, and of course his ruinations of cities. The Skink Chief got pretty okay value considering he spent the entire time just shooting at Gelt. Saurus actually got some pretty bad value overall from their kills just because the units they were slapping around weren't worth anything. Chameleon Skinks did pretty okay on value. Pterodons did okay, and then the Bastillons both came in at over 1,000. The Bastillons were just mopping up that short-range shooting and artillery like it was nothing. Great game to both players. Alright, so, back to the bracket. We're now moving on to our next game, which is going to be Hadries versus Dekdar. So we've got Hadries Wood Elves versus Dekdar, who I can't remember what Dekdar's army is. Skaven, I think? I'm pretty sure it was Skaven. And for this one, let's go to Lianguel. Liangui?
Another wretched foul lizard thing joins the red host.
Oops.
Sotek spawn.
Sorry, Dekdar, I didn't mean to kick you.
Just a rough thought, proper dwarf runes, not runesmith/lord spells, just equipment could work like a combination of the scrap mechanic and the flesh crafting. Create a rune combination, no more than 3 runes, only 1 master rune, and then you can choose.
What? Undertaker, thanks so much for keeping your sub going, my dude. Just a rough thought. Proper dwarf runes, not as in spells for the characters, just equipment, could work like a combination of the scrap mechanic and the flesh crafting system for the Skaven. Create a rune combination, no more than 3 runes, only 1 master rune, and then you could choose. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot you could do with a... I think there's a lot you could do with a runic system for dwarfs that needs a full rework. I'm totally fine with a lot of the rune items we have now, but it really feels like there needs to be an ability where you can equip runes to units, especially war machines. I really want runes on my war machines. But yeah, thanks for the self-continuum, dude. Alright, so we're on to our first match of the semifinals. How would you implement runes in multiplayer? Put them on item, make it the item options, or just don't. Also, don't get me wrong, the rune lords and runesmiths should absolutely still have runes as like abilities, but they need a rework on how they function. The way the runes work in multiplayer right now are absolutely garbage. The Anvil of Doom needs to be way, way more important. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Alright, so for anyone that missed the last game, the last couple games, let me run over these lists real quick. The Wood Elf one's actually a little easier. So for the Wood Elves, we've got 5 units of Dryads, backed up by, I believe, 4 units, of Glade Riders with Spears. We've got the Wild Riders with Shields, and the Lost Sylvan Knights, ROR. Leading the army, we've got the lovely couple Orion, King of the Woods, and Ariel, Queen of the Woods. Orion is running both of his items, the Cloak of Aisha and the Horn of the Wild Hunt. Meanwhile, Ariel, spell-wise, she has the Berry Wine as her only item, and she's running Apotheosis, Tempest, and Soul Stealer. I think they are going to have a very, very hard time against this Skaven build. This Skaven build is very nasty. Granted, it does not have anything... I don't think it has any magic damage. No, there's no magic damage with the Skaven, except for the Plague Priest. Which is not a lot. For the Skaven, we've got 5 units of Skaven Slaves, 2 units of Globadiers, 2 units of Giselles, one of which is Natty Bubo Sharpshooters. We've got 2 units of Death Runners, one of which is the Vitskrin's Death Squad. 3 units of Rat Ogres. I want to say 3 units of Clan Rats. And then for the characters, you've got Deathmaster Snitch, running with all of his buffs and items. He does not have his spin to win. He does not have the spin to win, but he has everything else. And then you also have Plague Priest with just the summon spells, and an assassin running all of his items. So, no magic damage with the Skaven, so they are going to have a tough time versus those Sylvan Knights. However, those Sylvan Knights will take a lot of damage from that Poison Wind. Oh, no, never mind. The Globadiers do have magic damage. Globadiers have magic damage. That's what I thought. So, yeah, this is actually going to be super interesting. Alright, so the game has started. The Wood Elves are probably going to be coming in from all directions. We can see they are already taking quite a bit of fire from all the Giselles, who just have a perfect killing range down this initial field. I'm honestly surprised that the Wood Elves decided to start right in front of them. It feels like it would have been better to come at them purely from the sides. Like, even though your army might, like, be a little off to start, I really feel like it would have been better to come from all these angles, because at least you'd have all these trees covering your advance. We do see all of the Giselles have turned around to shoot upon the Wild Riders, who are actually... I mean, kudos to them. They are tanking those shots. They've got a really, really nice charge. They've got a charge bonus of 100 right now, but the Skaven do pull a brilliant move, throwing in the Clan Rats to eat that charge, and then countercharging with the Rat Ogres, who are just going to decimate the Wild Riders. I mean, both sides are taking a ton of damage, but the Wild Riders are worth a lot more. Meanwhile, on this flank, we can see that the Glade Riders have popped through. Orion has been locked down, and everything is being popped on Orion. The Skaven are going all in, trying to kill the King of the Woods, but Ariel responds by popping the Berry Wine, so Orion's healing is just untouchable right now. He laughs at this attempt to assassinate him. Uh-oh, we got a little bit of lag. Hopefully it will... There it goes. Come on. Come on. The Skaven are doing their damnedest to hurt their enemies here. They're popping all the debuffs on Orion, but Orion is surrounded by friendlies, and when if Deathmaster Snitch is still in this fight when all these wear off, he's going to have a really bad time. That being said, he does decide to start going after Ariel, doing all of his anime kickflips and stuff. The Lost Sylvan Knights are fighting in the forest, which is perfect. That's a brilliant place for them to fight, because it means they get buffs for fighting in the forest because they're Wood Elves and they have the Forest Stalker ability, plus any Rat Ogres that come after them will be debuffed, so that's a really nice place to fight. Plus, they'll actually, they have a better chance of avoiding damage from shooting attacks. However, we can see that the Wood Elf army, outside of this little character buff and the Lost Sylvan Knights, has basically collapsed. There is nothing on this entire flank. And now these Globadiers are about to get in range of these Lost Sylvan Knights, and this volley is going to be devastating! Oh my gosh, in comes that nasty volley. It's going to do a ton of damage. Those Sylvan Knights have to get on those Globadiers right now. They've got to shut them down. If those Globadiers are allowed to continue firing... Ooh, very, very nice. Did y'all see that? That Sylvan Knight actually hit the Plague Priest and canceled his summon. I wonder if the Skaven player even noticed that his summon didn't go off. Down here, we do see Ariel is basically dead. She's got 300 hit points left because of the double assassin. However, Orion is still in excellent shape, and he is dueling very, very nicely against Deathmaster Snitch. Ariel has broken at her only 300 health, but, you know, alive is alive. I have a feeling that's about to not be the case. But overall, things are actually looking pretty okay for the Wood Elves. They did manage to stabilize here in the center of the field. These Glade Riders did manage to get on all these range units and cut them down. But Ariel is down. Man, Ariel's not having a good day today. Meanwhile, we've got Glade Riders getting a beautiful rear charge into Vitzgrin's Death Squad, which is probably going to finish them off. Down here, it looks like most of the Skaven shooting has been completely taken offline. All of the Globadiers are shattered. There is no more magic damage. No more magic damage for the Skaven. Meanwhile, we've got Deathmaster Snitch and the Assassin are being completely overwhelmed by a massive death blob of Dryads and Glade Riders and Sylvan Knights and Orion. And the Assassin has terrified. Deathmaster Snitch is trying his best to get away and not break. Orion is very low on health. I don't think his cloak is popped yet. But he is actually taking a lot of damage from Deathmaster Snitch. Deathmaster Snitch is really putting the hurt on him. But his leadership is getting really low. We do get a nice summon of Clan Rats in here trying to bolster his leadership and keep him alive. But Deathmaster Snitch has broken! The Assassin is also broken in this mess. It is complete mayhem over here. But there is a ton of Wood Elf units running around. Oh, look at that. There is one unit of Globadiers that has rallied, getting a ton of gas into these Glade Riders. But unfortunately, they're causing a shitload of friendly fire. And all that friendly fire shatters all of their allies. And now they're exposed against these Glade Riders. Meanwhile, over here, we see that the Skaven leadership still has not rallied. The only magic damage they have left in this area is the Plague Priest, and Orion sees him. He's going in, and he gets him with a nice little poke in the face. Those decontamination, there we go, attacks are going to hurt. Wait, contaminated, not decontaminated. But things are looking very, very dicey for the Wood Elves. However, Orion is actually really low on health. Good thing he's unbreakable. He is starting to throw spears. He's got to get Deathmaster Snitch off the battlefield. He cannot allow Deathmaster Snitch to come back. If Orion does not chase these guys off, he is in trouble. He does have the Cloak of Aisha up now, so he is healing constantly. The Skaven have lost all of their leadership. They are all currently broken, but Deathmaster Snitch is rallied. Deathmaster Snitch is back in the fight, and it will not take much for him to kill Orion. Whoa, shit, he gets hit right with a spear. Oh, that spear just got him right in the lower back. You just hear him screaming out about his hip. Deathmaster Snitch is trying to get the hell out of dodge. Oh my god, he gets hit again, and he's broken. Oh, just as he pops a concealment bomb. He's invisible, but it's too little, too late. Meanwhile, the Sylvan Knights are charging in on this Assassin. Deathmaster Snitch gets hit by a third spear. Orion is just sniping the hell out of Deathmaster Snitch. Meanwhile, over here, we do see that the Poison Wind Globadiers have rallied to the battlefield. They are really the only hope the Skaven have left at this point, though they do need their characters to come back. The Horn of the Wild Hunt has been popped just in time for the Sylvan Knights to get a massive charge on a group of summoned units. We see Globadier shots are going in against the Lost Sylvan Knights, who are taking quite a bit of impressive damage. The Assassin has rallied, so the Skaven do have some leadership holding them together. The Dryads, though, now are on the Globadier, so they're not going to be firing very well anymore. And the Sylvan Knights are running around causing lots of terror. Orion has healed back up to almost 1,200 health, and his spear shots are just devastating the Skaven leadership. I mean, they are just taking a beating. However, the balance of power actually turns back heavily in favor of the Skaven as Deathmaster Snitch rallies at one leadership with 29 health to his name. The Sylvan Knights have broken and they are fleeing the battlefield. Orion is all that's left, but he does cause terror and he is surrounded by groups of Dryads trying their damnedest to keep him alive. He's got to get rid of these characters. As long as these characters are alive, the Skaven will continue fighting. Another great spear goes in, just nailing that Plague Priest, making his day pretty miserable. We see the Sylvan Knights have rallied. The balance of power with the rallying of the Sylvan Knights swings all the way back up to medium. Plague Priest eats another spear. He is not having a good time. Deathmaster Snitch, though, is hiding. Oh, and he shatters! Deathmaster Snitch finally can't take it anymore. He shatters, runs off the battlefield. All that's left are these two Skaven characters backed up by a very few units. We've got Death Runners coming in to try and finish off these Dryads. Orion is out of spears. He no longer has spears as an option. We see that the Dryads are chasing after the Poison Wind Globadiers, trying to get them off the battlefield so they cannot get a volley that might turn around the battle. The Lost Sylvan Knights are rallying back to try and assist the Dryads against the Death Runners. Orion is chasing after the fleeing characters. The Dryads are trying to get these guys off the field. It's still anybody's game. If the Skaven characters could get on those Dryads, oh no, but they give up. The Dryads get into the forest and get their forest buffs, and they're going to be able to get those Poison Wind Globadiers off the battlefield. So all that's left now are the Death Squad, who shatter when they get hit with Orion. The Clan Rats are running in terror from the Sylvan Knights, who are charging in to get rid of them, and all that's left is Orion and a small bodyguard against a single assassin and a Plague Priest. But who knows how much magic that Plague Priest has. He might have enough magic to get another summon onto the battlefield. It's actually pretty shocking that the balance of power is literally 50-50. It is exactly 50-50. And the only thing the Skaven have are these two characters, looking at the map here. But, oh, here it comes! A unit of Clan Rats emerges onto the battlefield, led by the Plague Priest, who does, of course, lower leadership. Oh, he takes a brutal hit! Assassin's Trophy is popped on Orion. And that's game. The Skaven shatter right at the end. Woo! What a game! That actually wavered quite a bit. Doctor really started pulling that game back. I mean, that was super, super close. Actually, pretty much every game we've watched, I don't think any of the games have really been blowouts. Well, there have been some, I guess that's not entirely true. There have been some games where there was definitely some leads, but some of the games have been super close, and this was one of them. I mean, the Wood Elves were literally just down to Orion holding them together. Oh my gosh, what an absolute mess right there. The Skaven nearly had them. Queek rallying at that, I don't know how he rallied at like 29 health, but he did. And when he was rallied, the Skaven army actually like came back together and started turning the tide against Orion and all of his buddies. But it just wasn't quite enough at the end. The Plague Priest actually did really well, like keeping a lot of good sustain on the battlefield. And I honestly think his contamination attacks actually did a really good job of getting rid of a lot of the forest spirits. But looking at the value after the game, we'll start with the Skaven this time. Deathmaster Snitch got great value. He got about almost 2,200 in value. He basically killed Ariel by himself and did a ton of damage to Orion. I mean, Deathmaster Snitch almost single-handedly won the game by just murdering the hell. I need to try not to curse as much, especially on multiplayer streams. Like, he just absolutely shredded the Wood Elf leadership, and the only thing that really doomed him in the end was when he got broken by that mass terror bomb. He wasn't able to get away fast enough and stop Orion from just nailing him with like 3 or 4 spears, and those spears just kind of did him in the end. The assassin also got excellent value. Was basically just following Deathmaster Snitch around, being a nice character assassin bus. Plague Priest didn't get a ton of value, but he summoned in a lot of units, which isn't really calculated as part of his value, so I think he actually got way more than this. Skaven Slaves are Skaven Slaves. Their job is just to be road speed bumps. Same thing for Clan Rats. Both of the Death Squads did really well. They got some pretty half-decent value and cleaved a lot of units apart. The Globadiers, this unit of Globadiers got a ton of value, 1,300 golden value, which is awesome. This unit, since it got 0 kills, which I don't know how that's possible, because I know both of them were definitely shooting. Maybe this one got taken out super early by like Blade Riders or something. The Jezzails didn't get a ton of value in this game. That isn't a huge surprise. This army was literally able to get on top of the Skaven like instantly, so there wasn't really a lot they could do. Like, they got some really nice early game sniping, but there just wasn't a place for them to hide. And then the Rat Ogres got some okay value, but once again, when fighting against Wood Elves in such a hyper aggressive build, Rat Ogres are, you know, gonna struggle there. Meanwhile, for the Wood Elves, Orion came out with 1,840 value, which is pretty good. he did really, really well. His spear throws were god tier. Like, he actually used all of his ammo, which I feel is pretty rare for Orion, because I think most players use Orion purely in a melee sense. He generally only uses his spears near the end of the game, or if he's super low on health. But in this game, he basically polished off Queek with a good couple of spear throws, and also did some pretty significant damage to the Plague Priest. Ariel, once again, did not get a ton of value, but I think that's just because everyone and their mother focuses her down as fast as they can, and she's quite frankly pretty easy to kill just because she's so big. Deathmaster Stitch and the Assassin just ripped her in half almost instantly. Oh, was I saying Queek? Sorry, Snitch. Then the Dryads, they did their job. Once again, speed bumps, essentially. Glade Riders got some really, really good value. Killed a ton of Skaven, especially this unit. This unit must have been running around the back, killing the ranged units. It got a ton of value at 1,200. And the Lost Sylvan Knights. Whoa! Lost Sylvan Knights coming in with 2,500 value. That is incredible. You could tell that physical resistance really came in clutch. The physical resistance on this ethereal units are strong in this format. Oh my goodness. Alright, anyway. Let's go to the next semifinal match, which is going to be Samurai Warriors Dark Elves versus Bob Tresh's Lizardmen. Get in here, Bob. I saw you in chat just a second ago. Oh, I probably have to invite him. Bob. Where's Bob? Bob. God. Bob, what's your stupid Steam name? Which one of these is Bob? Hold on. Can't see the lobby. I thought I already added you to my... Didn't I just add you to my Steam list? Yeah, I'm 100% sure I did. Hold on. Oh, maybe I didn't. Alright, I gotta fire someone else from my Steam list. You. I never play with you. Well, no. No. Excuse me for a second. There we go, this person. Be gone. Okay, now I've invited him. Alright, and for this map, we're going to go to... Let me look at my list here. Where is that map? The Chill Flow. Seems like a good map. Will I continue the Mark of Chaos or campaign at some point? Yeah, I was actually planning on playing it here pretty soon. Might have removed him earlier. That would have been a little silly of me, but maybe I did. I am a silly man after all. Alright, this is the last semifinals game. Let's get into it. We're doing great on time. My voice does not like me right now. Hey, Duck, good to see you, dude. And I will let y'all know for the next one of these, I will be vastly increasing the size available for players. I think we'll bump it up to at least 32 slots, and if there's enough demand, we could up it to 64. But I will only ever stream like the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. I'm never going to stream like all of the matches before that, but we do want to let everyone who wants to play. Today, I only allowed 16, even though there were at least 32 people that wanted in, just because by the time I realized there was that much interest, it was already like a couple hours before the tournament needed to start, and that just wasn't realistic. But for the next one, it will be much easier for lots of people to get involved. Alright, so in case you missed the earlier matches, just go over the list again real quick. Our first build in here from Bob Tresh has Lord Mazdamundi leading it with Banishment, Ruination of Cities, Apotheosis, Harmonic Convergence, and Ned of Amentok. Oh, he's also got the Sunburst standard. Always good to notice. He's got double Bastildons with solar engines. He's got a Skink Chief on foot with the War Drums of Zahotek. Then we've got 2 units of Chameleon Skinks, 2 units of Skinks with Javelins, 4 units of Swords Warriors with Shields, and then 2 Pterodon Riders with Javelins, one of which is the Pahawk Sentinels. Then, over here, we've got the Witch Elf army, the Cainite-themed army, which is led by Samurai Warrior, and has Hellebrand leading the charge, the scariest old lady in fantasy. She's got her Cursed Blade on her, so as long as she is fighting in combat and her enemy is losing, they're going to be losing even worse with lots of drain. We've got a Cainite Assassin with all of his usual goodies and debuffs, as well, and a Sorceress of Fire with Fireball and Flaming Skull. We've got 4 units of Witch Elves, 2 units of Cold One Knights, 5 units of Dread Spears, and 2 Scourge Runner Chariots. Let the games begin. Alright, the match is on. Scourge Runner Chariots are coming in nice and early for some early skirmish fire here. I don't think they see the Chameleon Skinks just yet. Now they probably see them. You definitely don't want to waste your shots on Chameleon Skinks from Scourge Runners. Oh, now they see them. Oh, but nope, then they go. They're on fire at will. So, yeah, because Chameleon Skinks are just kind of, they just don't care about shooting. Unless you just have literal mass fire, they just honestly could not care less. That being said, I do think the Dark Elf army has a nice setup to deal with a lot of their opponents. They do actually manage to get a couple of pot shots on the Skink Chief and knock him over, which is pretty funny. The Chameleon Skinks, though, are in range to start counter-firing, and in come the Solar Engines, getting 2 beautiful shots right in on the Witch Elves. We see here the Witch Elves try and dodge, don't quite from that net, and in comes a Ruination of Cities. Oof! 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 Very nice Ruination of Cities. The Witch Elves are already below 50% health. These Solar Engines are absolutely devastating the Witch Elves. That pure magic damage is a really bad time for them. The nets do catch out those Cold One Knights who just kind of walked into it on accident, it looks like. So hopefully they get new order soon because they need to move. The Witch Elves are very close already to breaking. We see the Source Warriors are charging in under the Shield of Protection. And once Mazdamundi wombo combos in with a charge, yeah, they are already terrified. They're getting the hell out of dodge. Over here, we see the Dread Spears going up against the Saurus. That will be a freaking massacre in favor of the Saurus. The Wounded Witch Elves here are going up against the Saurus. Not going to be a good matchup for them. Overall, Witch Elves really should not be heavily engaging against Saurus. Witch Elves are going to have a really hard time versus Saurus Warriors just because of the sheer damage the Saurus Warriors can put out here. Here we get a Burning Head. It kind of misses. It basically misses. It catches a couple Saurus, but it was just a little too far back, and the Witch Elves broke a little too early. So it just wasn't able to get a really good connect. So already the Dark Elves are kind of struggling. A good banishment goes off from Mazdamundi that puts some really nice hurt on these Witch Elves and these Cold One Knights. But Mazdamundi is in a little deep around a lot of Witch Elves, and he is almost into that Rampage threshold. Here we see the Wood Elves do, Dark Elves do self-rampage, and they're doing quite a bit of damage, but oh lordy, if those Pahawk Sentinels drop rocks on this blob, that is going to be game over for them. Over here, we get a really nice charge from the Scourge. Oh no! Oh, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? Oh, yeah, that's going to do it. That is quite a bit of damage on that infantry. But there are still 2 very healthy chameleon skinks back here, happily just taking pot shots all day long. We do see this poor Bastiladon is getting absolutely rammed by this assassin and Hellebrand. But Mazdamundi does show up to save the day. Looks like, what is that? Oh, that's Web of Shadows. So that's actually going to do some pretty significant damage to both of these combatants. Oh, Mazdamundi, don't turn your back to them. Oh, that's going to really hurt. Oh, really nice Flaming Skull into a Ruination of Cities. Basically obliterates both sides of the infantry there. That Flaming Skull is unfortunately going to get a little bit of friendly fire. Incinerate those Witch Elves. Mazdamundi is popping his heals. He's trying to get away. Lucky for him, there doesn't seem to be any Witch Elves left. Oh, there's 1 unit of Witch Elves left who are killing off the Skink Chief. But Mazdamundi does manage to break away from the conflict, gets a really nice rear charge into these Dread Spears, which is causing them to flee. But both Bastiladons are still fully operational battle stations, and they are in relatively good health. One of them is a little wounded, but not too bad, and they have a ton of ammo left. These Scourge Runner chariots are going to get absolutely obliterated by this, and right now the Dark Elves are at a very strong disadvantage. Mazdamundi, although he's not the fastest thing in the universe, Zlak does hobble at a pretty good speed, and Zlak is getting the hell out of dodge, especially when he activates that charge animation, slamming into those Witch Elves and immediately terrorizing them off the battlefield. Here we have another, beautiful Burning Head. Oh, that was a beautiful Burning Head, cleaving through all those skinks, but it might have been way too little, way too late. We do see Hellebrand goes for the self-rampage to try and buff herself to cleave through the skinks, but unfortunately the self-rampage rampages her sorceress into dueling Mazdamundi, and the K-Knight Assassin breaks because he's just past the point of being able to fight willingly. And now the only thing that's left is Hellebrand. A little bit of friendly fire there from the Solar Engine, not the biggest deal, especially since they implemented the change where friendly firing with shooting no longer applies the debuff. So getting shot by your own Solar Engine is really not a huge deal anymore because they don't blind you. All that's left is Hellebrand. She is literally the only thing left on the battlefield that is really a threat, and she is taking a ton of poison darts and from this Chameleon Skinks. We do see a second very nice Burning Head rolling through those Chameleon Skinks, dealing a ton of damage. The Sorceress, unfortunately, is going to get ping-ponged between dinosaurs and get terrified. Hellebrand has now been terrified. That's going to trigger army losses, and that is game. So the Dark Elves have been defeated and cast back into the north. So all that remains now is the finals. But let's take a look at some value. Hellebrand got some decent value coming in with that 1268, likely from tearing up that Bastiladon Mazdamundi really bad. The Assassin giving her some pretty hard assists on that. The Sorceress got some pretty okay value with those double burning heads, but like I said, it was just way too little, way too late. She did a lot of damage to the Chameleon Skinks, but unfortunately wasn't able to kill too many models despite the burning heads because they just hadn't taken any damage. The Dread Spears basically just kind of got instantly munched by the Saurus, and the Witch Elves had a very similar problem where they just got lasered down by the Bastiladons, sniped by Skinks, and then beaten to death by Saurus. Cold Knights barely got any value. The Scourge Runner Chariots actually did very, very well. The Scourge Runner Chariots were able to use most of their ammo and got in a ton of value, averaging about 1,200 between the two of them, likely putting in a lot of that damage onto Saurus, Pterodon Riders, and characters. Meanwhile, Mazdamundi was rocking pretty okay value around 1,800. He got some pretty nice ruinations of cities, and a lot of support spells, along with a decent amount of melee damage. It looks like maybe his banishments didn't connect too well. Skink Chief really didn't get to do too much this game. He got kited out by Witch Elves pretty hard and frenzied into being slapped around. Saurus got some pretty strong value, especially these two units coming in with 900 and 1,000. Likely these were the two units that dueled against the Witch Elves that made it to them full health, which unfortunately the Witch Elves are just not going to come out on top of that fight. The Saurus just hit so damn hard. The Skinks got some pretty surprising value considering they're Javelin Skinks, likely throwing into squishy targets like not squishy targets, but high value targets like the Cold One Knights. Same thing for the Chameleon Skinks. They came out very, very high value, likely due to harassing characters. Pterodons both coming out pretty okay, making their money's worth, and then the Bastiladons also got excellent value, all things considered. Those Bastillodons are an absolute terror in this tournament. And we are on to the finals! The last match for today. Who will be going home with $50 from Old Man Sotek's wallet? That's the question. So we've got Hadries versus Bob Tresh. Let's see your bets, chat. Let's see your bets, chat. Who will come out on top? The Azrae, the Wood Elves, or the Lizardmen? Oh wait, I gotta change the map. Wait, map change. Yes. Well, no. What's a really good map? Bloodpine Woods? Is that a good map? Yeah, that's right. Slon Gold? I don't believe you. That's not on my list. Are you being serious? Is Slon Gold actually a good map? What about Shagrat Stand? Nah. Slon Gold. Slon Gold looks like a damn mess. Yeah, no, we're just gonna do Bloodpine. Bloodpine Woods is fine. Oh, Estalian Tomb. Yeah, let's do Estalian Tomb. This one's good. MP Crossroads. Anyone who said Slon Gold is going to get banned. Estalian Tomb is super small. It's not that much forest. It's fine. It's fine. It's on the list. It's on the list. So, like, if it's on the list, it's viable. Eldrin, you didn't actually have to time him out. I was joking. Oh, this map's fine. Yeah, this map's not that bad. I mean, there's a decent amount of forest, but yeah, this is fine. Alright, so, in case you are somehow just now tuning in, the Lizardmen, this is the finals, the last match of the day. For Bob Tresh, the winner of our most recent game, he's got Lord Mazdamundi rocking Ruination of Cities, Banishment, Apotheosis, Harmonic Convergence, Net of Amnatok, and his item, the Sunburst Standard. He's also got a Skink Chief with the War Drums, 2 Bastillodons with Solar Engines, 2 Chameleon Skinks, 4 Saurus Warriors, 2 Skinks with Javelins, 2 Pterodons, one of which is the Pahawk Sentinels, and that's it. The Wood Elves, meanwhile, have a all-Vanguard build constructed from 4 Glade Riders with Spears, 1 unit of Wild Riders with Shields, the Sylvan Knights, 5 units, I believe, yep, of Dryads, Orion, the King of the Woods, with both of his items, the Horn of the Wild Hunt and the Cloak of Aisha. And then Ariel, the Queen in the Woods, who's bringing to the party Apotheosis, Tempest, Soulstealer, and her berry wine. Why is Eldrin murdering everyone in chat? Yeah, Tempest could be pretty valuable if he gets off like a really easy cast against the Pterodons. I don't know if it's worth the cost. What if without archers? Yeah, it's worked really well for him. Would Elves have no way of taking out the flyers? Well, Orion can shoot, and Ariel does have Tempest. Alright, and the game begins. Jesus. Alright, so Bob Tresh is starting off with a very aggressive push forward with his entire army. I assume he's trying to get away from the forest of the massive army behind him, or maybe he just doesn't know it's behind him yet. But it's probably better for him to get out into the open field. That way the Wood Elves cannot use that forest to stay all hidden around him. Looks like he's not going to fall back super duper far, though. We do see here the javelins are... Ooh, the space laser and the javelins are going to get a really some nice early volleys into those Wild Riders with shields who do not have their shields facing the right way, so they are definitely going to take a little bit of damage for their trouble. Dryads are running in against the Saurus. Here we see Orion going in on a unit of Saurus Warriors. They do get the shield of the old ones to provide them some cover. Meanwhile, the Glade Riders with spears are slamming into these skinks over here. We're getting some nice Zack Snyder slow mode. Dryads, with all of their, do have the Horn of the Wild Hunt buffing them up, which I do think is actually going to help them equalize against the Saurus a bit. Oh, yeah, these Saurus are about to get absolutely plowed. Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart. Yeah, that Saurus unit is basically gone. We do, though, see that a Tempest was popped on these unit of Pterodon Riders. They are trying to get the hell out of there so they can avoid taking too much damage, because they do have free reign of the battlefield if they can afford to stay alive. Pawhawk Sentinels also took a fair amount of damage. We see this right flank. The Skinks have been compromised. Mazdamundi does miscast, doing a little bit of damage to himself, but he's got Orion on his butt. He really needs to do something about that. Over here we see... Oh, the Sylvan Knights! Oh, lordy! Getting caught in a net with a banishment and a space laser. They take a lot of damage. Considering they've literally got a berry wine on them right now. So the berry wine, that's with the berry wine. So that's them after healing like 1400 health. Oh my lord, they took a lot of damage. We do see Mazdamundi is trying to stabilize the battlefield over here. The double space lasers are trying to bring down the Sylvan Knights. However, I would say things are looking pretty grim for the Lizardmen right now. All of the Skinks and all of the Chameleon Skinks have been broken or shattered and are basically off the battlefield. The Pterodon Riders, despite the fact the Wood Elves barely have anything that can actually target them, are also in really, really rough shape. Mazdamundi really needs to find a way to deal with those Sylvan Knights and get them off the battlefield. They're kind of the last big thing. We do see that a Drop Rocks goes down, but it doesn't really connect well with anything. Mazdamundi does try and commit himself to dealing with Ariel. He does manage to free up these Saurus. Wild Riders are getting healed. Honestly, yeah, man, the Lizardmen are in a really bad spot. They just got completely surrounded by that army. And they really needed to fall back as far as they could, I think, this way, but just weren't able to do it fast enough because how slow their army is. Ariel is having her big duel with Mazdamundi right now, which she is probably going to lose pretty heftily, but she does have reinforcements coming in pretty soon. It looks like Mazdamundi is going in for the big charge on Orion. Maybe he whiffed, kind of hard to tell, but Orion does have quite a bit of anti-large, so he is very well designed for this particular duel. Sylvan Knights do get locked down again, and now there's a ruination of cities coming in. Ooh, the Runation of Cities basically misses all 3 shots, though, shooting them all in the same direction, which does not connect with the Sylvan Knights, unfortunately. And despite the fact they're supposed to be held down, they are moving a lot for a unit that's supposed to be rooted. They are getting a reasonable amount of heals, doing their best to kill off that Stegodon. They are at pretty low health. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, really the only thing that's left standing is there's one Bastiladon. Mazdamundi's got a fair amount of health to him. And there's one unit of Saurus still standing. We do see the Pterodons are doing their best to try and harass. Orion is actually at surprisingly low health. Unfortunately, though, this Bastiladon is taking a lot of fire from just every side. And Orion is just perfectly designed to deal with them. Solar Engine is doing its damnedest to try and help out. Mazdamundi comes in and just slaps Orion right across the butt with those horns, letting them know who's in charge. But I don't think Orion's going to be letting off that Bastiladon, and I just don't think anyone has the... There's just nothing, I think, that really has the ability to deal with this situation. Looks like Mazdamundi is going for a in-place banishment. Oh my god, that banishment just wanders right into all of those units and just completely obliterates that flank of the Wood Elf army. Thankfully, the only thing the Wood Elves had over there was a couple of Glade Rider units, so it did a ton of damage, but they didn't ultimately lose anything of any major value. Orion is taking a ton of damage, but he will, of course, get his Cloak of Aisha from his dear old wifey here pretty soon. So, which is going to give him a lot of damage resistance, even against Mazdamundi. Because Mazdamundi does actually not do magic damage when he's on top of Zlak. Meanwhile, the only chance the Lizardmen honestly have would be saving this Bastiladon, but they're not going to be able to pull it off. The Lizardmen shatter, and that is game. The Wild Hunt has taken the trophy. So the Wood Elves, of all people, the Wood Elves came out on top today with no shooting outside of Orion's Javelin. Not a single unit of Way Watchers, no Glade Guard, no Glade Riders. The Wood Elves came in with a purely all Vanguard, mostly cavalry build, relying very heavily on the husband and wife Wombo combo, and of course the Horn of the Wild Hunt, which led them to victory. Very, very, very good game. And a great game to everyone that played today. Taking a last look here at all the value. Orion getting a ton of damage value, a whopping 2,000 gold from just absolutely brutalizing those poor Bastiladons and Mazdamundi, bringing that anti-large armor piercing in to just absolutely curb stomp everything against him. Ariel this time actually managed to get a significant amount of value thanks to her Tempests. Both of her Tempests were literally the only way the Wood Elves had to deal with flying units, and it did its job. She put most of her magic towards it and was able to use her Berry Wine. She actually had a key play. Hadri's, I honestly think, saved himself with using Berry Wine on the Sylvan Knights. The Sylvan Knights got hit with a ton of damage early on in the game when they got netted for the first time, but she immediately responded with the Berry Wine and was able to heal them against the banishment and the solar lasers that they ate. The Sylvan Knights, of course, also got a ton of value with their heavy AP. They were able to tear through Source units and the Bastiladons and Mazdamundi. Wild Riders came in with also a ton of value. Once again, just chewing through Saurus like they weren't even there. This unit of Glade Riders must have gotten forgotten. This unit of Glade Riders got 0 kills, 0 damage, and 0 value, and they're at full health. So I'm assuming Hadri's forgot this unit. And the rest of the Glade Riders got really good value just wiping out the Skinks. And the Dryads did their job. The Dryads were there to just be meat shields and to hold people down. Meanwhile, on the Lizardman side, Mazdamundi got quite a bit of value, almost exactly as much value as Orion got. Mazdamundi actually got the most value out of the game. His banishments did really, really well. He had a couple of unfortunate moments on his Ruinations of Cities. His Ruinations of Cities unfortunately missed. which probably would have helped him significantly, but that's just the way that spell goes. The Skate Chief actually got a surprising amount of value at almost 1,000 gold. I wonder what he was shooting. The Saurus all got excellent value for the most part. They were just chewing through Dryads and the Wild Riders pretty easily. Command Skinks got all the Skink units got shut down almost immediately by just the massive oppressive amount of fast cavalry. The Pterodons, although they didn't have a direct counter on a unit, they did have a direct counter from Ariel and her Tempest. So unfortunately, they just weren't able to get in their value that they needed to, because Ariel was just sniping them out of the sky with mass spam Tempest. And then, of course, both Bastiladons got a ton of value, obliterating the Lost Sylvan Knights and many, many other targets, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to win the game. So, great game. Hopefully everyone had a lot of fun. I really do love this tournament format because it's very quick. It's a very straightforward. It's a very fun, straightforward. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. It's very fun, straightforward matchup where it lasts 2 hours. Like, we're almost 2 hours on the dot. It is 2:22. We started at about 12:30, so a little less than 2 hours. Awesome. So congrats again to Hadries for coming out on top. I will be sending you your $50 prize shortly. For anyone who wants to play in this tournament going forward, we will be having this tournament every 2 weeks. I would do it weekly, but since I am fronting the prize money, I don't want to bankrupt myself. So it'll be every 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from today, which is April the 21st, we will be having our next tabletop tournament. Except for that one, because it's the second tournament of the month, it will be starting at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time instead of noon. So the way it's going to work is it's going to alternate. So the first tournament of every month will be at noon Central Standard Time. The second tournament will be at 6 Central Standard Time. That way, people from different parts of the world and different schedules can get to show up and play and watch. But in any event, that's going to be it for us today. I hope you all had a good time. I hope you all had fun. Good Coffee Joey, thanks so much for keeping your Prime sub going. I really appreciate it, dude. I hope you all have a lovely day. That's going to be it for us here. I may be back later with some stuff. I don't know yet. I really need to let my my vocal cords rest for a while. And because I'm not used to talking this much, because I haven't done these in a really long time. But yeah, I hope you all had fun. I had a blast. We'll be back again soon. Until then, please stay safe out there. Take care of yourself. Be healthy. Be happy. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. We'll have some outro music.